Am I the jerk for not checking my phone for 1 hour at my own party? I organized a party at my parents' house because they were on holiday, and I had the house to myself. I do not live in the city but rather in the countryside, which is not as bad as it seems since I live in a very small country, and even the countryside is usually not too far from the nearest city. The train connections are very good, with 4 trains per hour going to the city during the day and 1 train per hour at night, especially on weekends. One of my friends who lives in the city decided to come by car, which was her decision to make. At 7:00 p.m. when the party started, I plugged in my phone and left it in the living room, while the guests and I went out into the garden. I saw a message from her saying, "I will be there at 7:30 p.m. So I sent her a thumbs up in response and went to talk with my friends. At around 8:00 p.m., I went back in to check my phone only to find 8 new messages from her and 3 missed calls. In the messages, she said she did not know where to park and was waiting outside my house and could not reach me. She waited for almost 30 minutes and then left, returning home. The road in front of my house is a very small and quiet road with almost no cars, and if there are cars, they are very slow because there are usually a bunch of children playing there. My friend could have just put her car on that road, gotten out, and come to ask me where she should park. Nothing would have happened if she had done that. There was also a WhatsApp group with all the people who were already at the party. She could have texted or called the WhatsApp group and someone would have seen the message told me, and I could have gone to help her. Additionally, since my parents took the car with them, their usual parking spot was empty. She could have just parked there and then come to ask if that was okay. Am I the antagonist for not checking my phone for an hour at my own party, causing her to leave and go home? You are not the one at fault. If the friend couldn't figure out parking on her own and ended up going home, she has bigger issues than missing a party. Hosts can't be expected to keep their phones on them at all times, especially during an event. Anyone with common sense would understand you're too busy to be checking messages constantly. Am I the jerk for telling my mom I don't like spending time alone with her? My mother, who is 64 years old, is very conservative and Christian. She has a history of bringing up controversial topics and refusing to let them go when asked. She has done this multiple times over the years with different topics, such as politics, religion, and LGBT issues, and will not drop it no matter how much I beg her to. A couple of weeks ago, she took me out for lunch and then came over to my house to hang out for a while. She brought up the topic of my nephew, who is 18 years old and is transgender. I know that she does not approve of him being transgender, and it caused a big uproar last year leading up to my wedding where my nephew was in the bridal party. I asked him before he came out. I thought I was starting to make some progress with her. I tried to explain that he is an adult, and I do not feel like it is my place to say what he can and cannot do with his life or body. I said that I am just going to love him because he is my nephew. However, she was not receptive and doubled down by bringing up 2 of my other close friends and bridesmaids who are lesbian and bisexual. She said that by not condemning them and allowing them to live in sin, they are more important to me than God's laws. I said that no, I am following God's law of loving others because I feel that it is important to be like Jesus and to love everyone regardless of where they are in life, because it is not my business to judge them. This started to escalate, and we were both yelling when I finally said, "This is why I do not like hanging out with you alone." She stormed out and has not spoken to me since. I do not feel like I am in the wrong since, even though it was not the nicest way to say it, it was something that needed to be said. My husband, who is 36 years old, is on my side and now understands why I do not often spend time alone with her. She generally holds it together in a group, but not when she has me one-on-one. Now his eyes are open to how she can be. It seems like my father, who is 70 years old, does not feel the same, which is probably the hardest for me since he does not usually let stuff with my mother come between us, but he has not talked to me either. I know what I said was unkind, but I cannot handle being backed into corners like this all the time. So, was I wrong for telling her that her actions make me not want to spend time with her alone anymore? So, you finally told your mom that her one-woman crusade against everything you stand for is driving a wedge between you two. You weren't cruel, you were real, and there's a difference. You deserve peace, not a battle every time you hang out. Sometimes, tough love means saying what needs to be said, even if it stings a bit. Am I the jerk for kidnapping my mom? Here's the revised version of the text. My mom and her wife, Nia, have been married for about 10 years. They dated for only 6 months, and they both seemed very happy. After they were married, that changed drastically. Anytime we visited, Mia would become angry that my mom was spending time with us, even if we included Mia. Mia quit multiple jobs without warning and bought 2 brand new cars. They have never been rich. At the time of this incident, Mia's daughter, Tay, was living with them. In November of 2023, my mom broke her leg while trying to build a bed frame for Tay. It was caused by tripping over their 5 dogs. Mia chose not to tell my brother or me anything, and they went to the hospital. I only found out hours later when Tay called my wife, which was against Mia's wishes. The surgery went well, but my mom had a metal plate and several screws due to how bad her leg was. Per the doctor, my mom should not be left alone for 6 weeks. So my wife and I set up a plan to support my mom and take time off work to assist. Most of the work was done by my wife. She is incredible. My mom's friends would also pitch in as much as they could. My mom's siblings were willing to assist, but Mia hated them and kept them away. In December, my wife and I had a trip pre-planned for a week. We were assured by Mia that my mom would be taken care of. Mia's 2 children would be able to assist in caring for her. After we returned on Christmas Day, I got a call from my mom asking me to come stay with her the next day, which was strange considering what Mia told us before the trip. When I got there, I found out that no one took care of her for the week we were out of town. She hadn't had a shower in over a week. She was given food when they remembered. Dog feces were all over the floor. Dishes were piled high. My mom didn't have her CPAP mask. Mia's children, who were supposed to take care of her, got into a physical fight on Christmas Day and stormed off with no idea when they would come back. So we said, forget this. My wife works from home and I had the week off, so we were able to take care of her. Since it was the only day everyone was available to assist with getting her to our place, we moved her that day. Tay returned as we were moving my mom. My mom tried to call Mia, but she didn't answer. When Tay called her to tell her about the move, Mia was livid. Mia called my mom that night and argued with her. My mom repeatedly said that she was just going to a place where she could get the help she needed. Mia then blamed my mom and us, saying this was the worst thing my mom ever did to her. She said that she was doing her best and that my mom leaving was uncalled for and that we kidnapped my mom. Tay disagreed with our actions. How this all happened was not ideal, but given the state my mom was living in without help to the bathroom, shower, or even provided decent amounts of food at the moment, I didn't see what choice I really had. So am I the bad person for taking my mom that day without planning it out with Mia? From what you wrote, you did what had to be done. Your mom wasn't being taken care of. Mia is trying to isolate your mom from her family and friends, a major red flag of abuse. She neglected her while you were away and unable to stop her. Your mom deserves better, OP. Am I the jerk for moving back in with my parents when my sister wasn't allowed? I am a 24-year-old female, and my sister is a 26-year-old female. At 18, I moved abroad for 6 years, 3 years studying, 3 years working. I have always struggled with depression and found ordinary life events more challenging than my peers. I have worked hard to manage stress, but recently, I realized I needed more support and decided to move back to my home country. My parents took me in as I had built my adult life elsewhere and had nowhere else to go. Renting in my home city is tough, and it can take months to secure a place. While I have been looking for a rental, my parents suggested I stay at home for a year or two to save up for a deposit on my own place, which many of my childhood friends have done. It is easier to buy than rent here. We agreed on some conditions. I need to get a job, contribute to bills, though they will not charge me rent, help out around the house, and if I'm out later than 11 p.m., I should stay at a friend's to avoid waking them. My sister had a different path. She studied locally and stayed home, but got into partying. She often came home noisily in the early hours, which clashed with my quiet, introverted parents who value a clean house. As she got older, tensions grew. She became messier and louder, especially when drinking. The final straw was when she started using recreational drugs, and my dad found some in her room. This led my parents to ask her to move out as the drugs went against their values. Other issues like taking money, lying about grades, and repeating a term added to it. They helped her find a new place, but she was evicted within the first year and then was asked to leave a friend's house. She now lives in government housing, which she does not like, but she has been stable there for a few years. When she learned I would be moving back in, she was upset and commented on how she would love a year or two rent-free to save for a deposit. She has asked my parents before, but they have always said no because her lifestyle has not changed much. Plus, she is in a lot of debt, so she is not in a position to save, as most of her extra cash goes to paying off debt. Last night, while getting food, she told me she thinks I should move out because it is unfair that I get an advantage. She said it is favoritism and that her opinion of me would lessen if I stayed with our parents. I understand her feelings. I would be hurt if the roles were reversed. However, I also see my parents' side. She was difficult to live with, came home late, was often drunk or high, brought drugs into the house, which could have jeopardized my mother's job, and is not very responsible with money or property. Despite this, my parents have always supported her, helping with rent, packing, and moving each time she was evicted. We all spend time together, and they show her love often, so I am not sure it is favoritism. It's not favoritism, it's the law of natural consequences at play. Your sister made her choices and burned bridges with your parents, and now she wants to call it unfair and favoritism. Your parents have every right to decide who lives with them and under what conditions. She has no one to blame but herself, and trying to manipulate you won't change that. Am I the jerk for complaining after my parent took €600 from my savings? I, a 16-year-old female, have been saving up money with my little sister for as long as I can remember so we could buy our own PC. This money consisted mostly of small coins and notes from birthdays, doing chores, and other events. It was all kept in a box under my bed. Back in 2022, my dad was picking me up from school when he explained he had taken the money from the box and put it in a bank for safekeeping. This weirded me out, but I eventually brushed it off. For Christmas and New Year's this year, we went to California to visit family. During one of the days, we went to Universal Studios. Afterward, my dad told my sister that he had used our money to buy our Universal tickets. He also told me that I should not even ask for Christmas or birthday presents because he had spent so much money already. My sister told me, and this annoyed me, but I brushed it off as I did not want to start an argument during our holiday. Recently, my sister and I created an Amazon wish list of the things we wanted, getting help from our brother in picking out PC parts. For weeks, I have been asking my dad when he is going to pay us back, sending him all the links to what we want. Whenever it is brought up, he ignores me as if he never heard me. One day, he finally replied to me, saying that he does not want to buy us a PC because he wants us to focus on our studies. Both my sister and I have consistently good grades and both enjoy studying. This annoyed me, and I asked why we could not spend our own money that we worked for. Then I stormed off to my room. I brought the situation up to my mom, and she told me it was not any of her business, and maybe it is not the right time. This frustrated me, and I said that he could just have the money if he needed it that badly. She replied that he does not need money because he has a good job. I ended up getting frustrated with her as well. The whole ordeal is super stressful to me, and they keep giving me lectures that they are just guiding me. So, maybe I am in the wrong? Yes, it may have been wrong of me to talk back to my parents, but what can you expect from a frustrated 16-year-old girl? Am I the wrong person for complaining after my dad took 600 euros from my savings? You are not the cause of this issue. It's ridiculous that they claim to be guiding you while stealing your money. Your father is a thief, and your mother isn't any better. Start saving again, but make sure to hide it well. They clearly can't be trusted. Am I the jerk for yelling at my mother to stop talking about my weight? I am a 21-year-old female, and would like to start off with the fact that, yes, I am very much an overweight woman. I have been having problems with losing weight for many years despite constant dieting and fully cutting out sugar for a few years. I went to the doctor about this as well as a few other issues I had been having and was diagnosed with both lipedema and polycystic ovary syndrome, PCOS, both of which I had suspicions about but was only confirmed in the last month. Even though the doctor suggested liposuction to help with it, I decided against it as my quality of life was not being affected badly enough for me to consider it my only option. My mother, a 46-year-old female, and I have not always had the best relationship. It was never bad enough to where we would dislike each other or go out of our way to hurt each other, but she often made what I believed to be unintentionally hurtful comments about my appearance, height, weight, fashion sense, and hobbies. She was diagnosed with bipolar disorder at a young age, and even with medication, it can still affect her sometimes, so I chose not to take those comments to heart. Recently, my mother and father were planning a family trip to visit our relatives in another country, and we would need to fly there. My mother decided to say to the whole family, which consisted of my mother, me, my older brother, a 23-year-old male, my older sister, a 25-year-old female, and my father, a 49-year-old male, that I would definitely need to book an extra seat because I could not fit in a single one. I will admit that I was in a pretty bad mood as she had already made a few comments about my outfit choice and said that I looked like a homeless bowling ball, but I did try to ignore it. Unfortunately, when she said this, I snapped and screamed at her, "Will you stop making comments about my weight when I've got a medical condition, you jerk?" After that, I stormed out of the house in order to try and calm myself down, so I did not blow up even more. Up until this point, I had known about my diagnosis for about a week and a half and was still trying to figure out how to process it, so I had not properly told my family yet. When they started calling and texting me to ask what I meant by having a medical condition, I sent the photos of my test results to my sister to share with the family and turned my phone off. I did also send my mother an apology for yelling at her like that, but I have not heard anything back from her. I feel like I really screwed up, and I do not even know if I want to go on this trip anymore if I blew up at her like this. Now I am starting to think that she has been making all those comments about me on purpose, and I do not know what to do. Am I the antagonist? You did nothing improper. Someone is hurting you on purpose consistently, and you snapped. Your mom is supposed to be a safe place, but she's clearly not, and trying to please her will never work. Maybe she'll double down and make it all about how you treated her, but you can create space to protect your mental health. You can't make her change, but you can make it stop happening to you. Thanks for watching. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications so you never miss a video. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist in the description.